Welcome to the December 13th Diversion Authority Finance Committee meeting.
Hey, how you doing?
Don, I'd please ask that you please call the roll.
Mayor Dardis.
Here?
Mayor Mahoney.
Here.
Mr. Peterson. Mr. Steen. Ms. Thompson.
Here.
Ms. Johnson.
Here.
Mr. Redlinger.
Here.
Mr. Grimberg.
Here.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Here.
Mayor Carlson.
Here.
Mr. Reeds. Ms. Madriga.
Here.
A quorum is present.
Thank you, Don. First order of business is to approve the minutes of November 15, 2023. It's in the attachment and in your packet. It's on page 3.
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of approval of the minutes of November 15, 2023 as presented, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 3 is to approve the order of the agenda.
I so move.
Thank you, Commissioner Pipcorn. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Mrs. Thompson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the order of the agenda. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. Item number 4 is the approval of the bills. We call on Susan Thompson, Finance Director for the City of Fargo. It's on page 6 of the packet.
Okay, these bills are bills paid through December 6th. The total is $9,171,394. It's mostly the same typical items. Largest one would be the Water Resource District, and that was primarily land acquisition. Does anyone have any questions?
Are there any questions? Are there any questions of the
Move to
presentation of the bills? Mayor Mahoney moves to approve the bills that were presented. Is there a second?
Second.
Mr. Redlinger seconds. Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? Hearing none. Don, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes.
Ms. Thompson.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Redlinger.
Yes.
Mr. Grimberg.
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Ms. Madriga.
Yes.
And that is everyone.
Thank you, Don. Item number 5 is the finance report. Again, we call on Susan Thompson, Finance Director for the City of Fargo, to present. It's on page 22 of the packet.
Okay, if we look at the diversion fund, we have total assets of just under 218 million, liabilities of 95,392, so net position for that fund of 217,847,579. In the budget fund, there is cash of 198,500. So the grand total position is total assets of 218,141,554, liabilities of 95,392, for a net position of 218,046,162.
Thank you. Any questions? Is there any questions? Entertain a motion.
So
Mayor Carlson moves.
I'll second.
Redlinger seconds. It's been moved and seconded to approve the finance report as presented. Is there any discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you, Mrs. Thompson. Item number 6 is the Executive Director's Financial Report. We call on Mr. Joel Paulson, Executive Director of the Diversion Authority. It's on page 46 of the packet. Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the Finance Committee. We'll start with the annual revenues today. As you can see in the middle column, this month we had a receipt of 4.7 million from the Fargo sales tax and another 2.3 million from Cass County. You can see the fiscal year to date, 31.5 million, and about 15.5 million for the county. In comparison to our approved budget, keep in mind these numbers are 3 months behind, and so we are anticipating to exceed our overall sales tax revenue for the year. And I think, Mayor, we usually see higher sales tax towards the end of the year as well, Mayor Mahoney, with the Christmas season and those types of things. So all that data looks very good. We also had a $18.5 million bond draw from our legacy fund account with the state, $2 million in SRF funds. We also had the sale of assets, that would be the sale of land, for about $1 million. So I'll move on, unless there's any questions, I'll move on to the budget review. As you can see, we're certainly still going to be in under budget this year. A lot of factors contributed to that. The timing of the third-party relocation of utilities, the land acquisition, and of course our milestone payments to the developer. So no big surprises here. Everything seems to be appropriate. I'll dig in deeper this month on the level 2 status. However, I want to point out a couple numbers. So if you go to the next page. So towards the bottom here, we have a few items to note. Under lands and impacted property mitigation, the second row down, diversion channel and associated infrastructure. You can see we actually have a negative number in the right column. Right is in right and wrong. That 1.9 was receipt of money through transactions with land trades. So we're actually well under budget on that. So that was a good positive note. So Jody's been doing good work there. Also note, though, that we have that $8 million over budget in the mitigation and associated infrastructure, and I believe that's related to the $8 million payment for the Lower Otter Tail project, which was a settlement agreement provision. So,
Paulson, could you go back to the previous slide?
sure can.
So, according to the data that you have there, we're going to have a $103,185,015 that will carry over.
That's correct. I mean, we have one more month left, the December month, to add against this 2023 cash budget. But we have taken what we are not anticipating to occur in December, and we've moved that into the 2024 cash budget.
Do you anticipate significant movement on payables?
On a few of these land items, yes. So the third-party MOU mitigation item and the lands, and then, of course, the milestone to the developer. So we did anticipate paying the developer out on some milestone payments this year. That did not occur. I don't think you should be alarmed. That's not an indication of their progress on construction. It's just they have to get components 100% complete before we make those payments. So that $19 million will certainly be paid out in 2024 for infrastructure items that are complete. So
Very good. Thank you.
thank you. We'll go to the one more page, please. Thank you. Just a couple items to note here. I'll expand on it a little bit further in the admin budget, but you can see under the program management, legal, financial, procurement in the middle, Diversion Authority operations, we are over budget on a few items, and I'll explain that in a second. And then we did go over by about $83,000 on the outreach costs this year. I don't think that's anything to be concerned of. We're kind of dialing in our outreach over the last couple of years, and so I do think we have an appropriate number in the 2024 cash budget for that. And moving on to the admin budget, you can see we are over budget on office and other. Office is really computer equipment, computer software, physical items for the office. We did have to procure a number of different softwares this year to use in our plan review and our interaction on the P3. That wasn't expected. Those pieces of software are obviously adding efficiency to the authority's operations. And so those that are showing up as being 19,000 over budget. I don't think it's anything of concern. Certainly, we're doing what we need to do to have an efficient operations. Other is travel and registration and those sorts of costs. a bit over budget there, but I'm not anticipating any more costs to that item for the remainder of the year. So with that, certainly take any questions if there are.
Are there any questions for Mr. Paulson? Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll move on to item number 7, which is the DA Board Approval Contracting Actions. Again, we call on Mr. Paulson. These are on pages 53 through 67.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and members of the committee. The first item we have before us is Program Advisory Services. This is for the 2024 budget. This is an identical budget for Program Advisory Services as last year, with a 3% increase, which all the consultants were given for the 2024 budgeting process. Would you like me to go through all of these, Chair?
We'll ask for questions as we go through them. Any
Okay.
questions on item A? Please continue.
Okay. The next 4 items, excuse me, are master service agreements for construction. We're giving it another acronym because we like acronyms at the authority. So these will be called MACs. What we're really doing here is we're pre-positioning to hire qualified contractors to remove homes. And instead of putting 5 to 10 homes in work packages like we did in the past, we believe this will be a more responsive route. So when a house or a property becomes eligible for demolition, we'll engage one of these 4 contractors, or we'll get quotes from these 4 contractors who are all qualified and met our requirements, and then award that to the individual contractor. So you can see there's no budget items on this. We will bring these before the Finance Committee and the board for review as we go through. So month by month, we may see a few of these come through for everyone to review. But this is really going to make us a bit more efficient instead of preparing bid packages for all the individual homes, and we'll be able to respond quicker to the removal of properties. So, and then the last one is a change order for a contract that we have with Schmidt and Sons. This is site restoration, cleaning up and removing 25,000 cubic yards of topsoil. So, and I stand for any questions, Mr. Chair.
Any questions from the Finance Committee?
Move to approve all the contracting actions.
Thank you, Mayor Mahoney. Is there a second, please?
I will second.
Mr. Redlinger's second. It's been moved and seconded to approve the DA Board Approval Contracting Actions, item A through F. Is there any discussion? Don, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Yes.
Ms. Thompson.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Redlinger.
Yes.
Mr. Grimberg.
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mayor Carlson.
Yes.
Ms. Madriga.
Yes.
And that is everyone.
Thank you, Don. Item number 8 is MOUs and agreements. It's on page 69, 71, and 111, and 196 of the packet. I see that Mr. Shockley is not in the room, so Mr. Paulson or Mr. Bakkegaard. Chris Bakkegaard, engineer for the Diversion Authority.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair and committee members. We have a few MOUs that are prepared and ready for final approval today. The first one's with Clay County for both the UMA and for Clare Cemetery and for the Southern Embankment. This is a similar MOU that we have with other adjacent entities, very similar to the Cass County ones that we've executed for the work related on the North Dakota side. So as we're stepping into Minnesota, we wanted to have a similar agreement in place with them. I don't know if there's anything of note, but I can certainly take any questions on the Clay County one. That one's pretty straightforward and very similar to our other member entity MOUs. We also have one with Cass County for forest mitigation agreement. That one is an administrative agreement. Cass County has purchased several properties over the years for flood buyouts, and we're proposing to add forest or replace some forest that we're taking down on those sites. In order to execute that contract on the Corps of Engineering side, we needed to have an agreement with Cass County that they gave us permission to to put the trees on those properties, so that agreement reflects that. And then the final one is an agreement with the Fossies. They're a landowner down by Horace. When we first purchased or abandoned the railroad near Horace, we were under the contemplations that it may become some sort of a recreation trail. We asked the Public Service Commission in North Dakota to allow that bridge over the Cheyenne to remain until we determined whether or not there would be a trail there. With the Fossies having purchased that property under the state statute for railroad abandonment, we now need to remove that bridge. And that was an agreement we made with Red River Valley and Western in our agreement with them. So this is an agreement with the Fossies that they're just giving us permission to come on the property and do the bridge removal. So with that, I can stand for any questions you might have related to the MOUs.
Any questions for Mr. Wackerkar?
Move to approve.
Thank you, Mayor Mahoney. Is there a second, please?
Second.
Ms. Thompson seconds. Been moved and seconded to approve the MOUs and agreements as presented this afternoon by Mr. Bakkegaard on items A through C. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, Don, would you please call the roll?
Mayor Dardis.
Yes.
Mayor Mahoney.
Aye.
Ms. Thompson.
Yes.
Ms. Johnson.
Yes.
Mr. Redlinger.
Yes.
Mr. Grimberg.
Aye.
Mr. Pepcorn.
Aye.
Mayor Carlson. Ms. Madrigal.
Yes.
And that is everyone.
Thank you, Don. Item number 9 is under other business. First order of business is the 2024 version of the cash budget. We'll call on Mr. Paulson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll also have Paul available here if there's any questions. Not much has changed between last month and this month. I think we're getting close to getting a final proposed cash budget. I would recommend that we look to potentially approve the final cash budget at our January meeting. So there, because there was some, last month there was some dialogue around the South University Drive flood wall. That's still not included in here. We didn't have time to follow up on all of the questions that the board had related to that item. And so we're kind of recommending just leaving this until January. Also, obviously, we'll have our finals at the end of the year for December. And to Bernie's question earlier, we're going to know exactly what to carry over into the 2024 cash budget. So I do believe it gives us a more accurate budget if we wait another month. And so, but I wanted to have this on the agenda if there were any questions from any of the finance committee members upon your review. So I don't know, Paul, if there's anything else. Oh, okay.
Any questions of Mr. Paulson? This is just for information only. This isn't an actionable item, as this is a preliminary budget, and as Mr. Paulson indicated, we'll be acting on this in the January meeting. Any questions at all? All right. Item B is the City of Fargo South University flood wall repair, the sloughing.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. So we, as I mentioned, we'll address this in January. We did get word from City of Fargo that there is not an insurance policy on the flood wall itself. And so that was one of the questions that the board had last month. The other question was the State Water Commission funding, and we have made that request, but we haven't heard back to see what their take on that would be. So that's really all I had to report. I just didn't want the Finance Committee to think this just went away. We're still working on it, and we'll bring it back at next month.
Thank you, Mr. Paulson. Mayor Mahoney.
I'm just curious, Joel, because I would think the State Water Commission has policy. I mean, you're not actually asking the commission to fund it right now, right? I mean, what are you waiting from the State Water Commission to say we'd consider it, or?
Yeah,
Because to me, if we had funding, we'd have to actually go to the State Water Commission and ask for the funding.
that's correct. So
And Nathan, is there a possibility? Because usually they kind of maybe give you an idea where they're headed with it.
Coming to the podium is the city engineer for the City of Fargo, Nathan.
So good questions, Mayor. I have been in conversations with some State Water Commission staff, and they're working with their executive director on the eligibility of this project, and we're working to set up a meeting to discuss that. So right now, we don't know whether or not they would deem it as an eligible project.
So in fairness, we haven't had a meeting with them yet.
We
mean,
haven't. We're still working on getting that set
getting
up.
that set up, so we haven't really, in a sense, given the ask, given the response. Okay. Thank you. That's all I wanted to clarify.
Thank you. Any additional questions for Mr. Paulson? Mr. Paulson, do you have anything else for us?
That's all I have, Mr. Chair.
All right. This, again, is an informational item. It's not an actionable item. So our next meeting is going to be January 24th. And with that, is there any new business that any of the Finance Committee would like to bring forward at this time? I'm waiting to see if anybody, Tony's online. Is there any staff members that have anything they'd like to bring forward at this time?
Are you trying to filibuster to make this meeting go longer, Mr. Tardis?
I promised a 4:17 meeting at 4:21, so I've blown that. So with that, we stand adjourned.
I was going to mention.